Kash Patel over at the FBI just revealed how many gang members are currently on the streets of Chicago. How many would you guess? Before I play this, how many gangsters would you guess are on the streets of Chicago? You would say, look, Chicago, it's a pretty bad city. It's Chirac these days. You know, people are getting killed there all the time. But what would you guess? 5,000? I don't know. If you asked me, I've already seen the number, so maybe I'm colored by this. But I would have guessed 5,000, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's really some crazy number. Maybe it's 20,000 gang members on the streets of Chicago. 20,000 gang members. I mean, that's an army. You have your number, you close your eyes, you write it down on a sheet of paper. Here's the real number.
Taking the juggernaut that is demolishing the weaponization of law enforcement and bringing it to places like Chicago. When I was there today with Todd, we learned that the Chicago city streets have 110,000 gang members. That's right. You heard me right. They had 1,200 shootings this year alone, 360 homicides. When politicians choose to side with those metrics and not their citizenry, thank God we have President Trump and this Department of Justice and this FBI going in there and crushing violent crime. And President Trump sent us into these cities quietly to set the stage, to set up for the National Guard, to see the success that we saw in Washington, D.C., in Memphis. The FBI has been leading the charge in every single one of these streets because we know how to gather ground level intelligence, and we know how to put handcuffs on the bad guys, and we know that we have the backing of this administration. And most importantly, the agents at the FBI know that they have the backing of the American people and their government.
So look, that's very helpful. Patel says we're going to do something about this because the problem is much, much worse than you guys thought. 110,000 gang members on the streets of Chicago. 110,000 gang members? What? Chicago is one of the great American cities, or at least it's supposed to be. Listen, I guess they used to have Al Capone out that way. But but then we would prosecute them. 110,000 gang members, that's a failed city. That's a failed state, which is why the federal government has to go in. It's not just that J.B. Pritzker is wrong, that the federal government has no right to go in here. It's not just that the mayor of Chicago is wrong. He says, we're going to establish ice-free zones. Ice-free zones where we will not allow the federal government to enforce federal law and to restore order. As if they could do that. It's not just that the federal government has the right to do that. The federal government has the responsibility to do that. We cannot permit this situation to continue. Because what are the options in Chicago? Chicago is a great example. The options are state violence, federal government goes in, big tough guys with big tough guns ready to shoot the bad guys and arrest them and then execute state justice on them, keep them in prison for a long time or worse. It's either that, which some people, they don't want to hear about, even on the right. Oof, I don't know, it seems so messy. Can't we just all get along? There's that, big tough guys with big tough guns shoving the guns in the faces of the criminals and arresting them, or 110,000 gangsters running roughshod over the city and brutalizing innocent people. Those are the only two options. You can't just politely ask the gangsters to go away. They won't leave. Those are your options. Which side are you on? Which side do you support? It kind of gets down to some of the historical comparisons too with other civil strife. Is people don't want to be on any side of tough battles because they don't want to get their morally pure hands dirty in the yucky muck of politics. They want some option where they can just excuse themselves from politics. You can't excuse yourself from politics. Human beings have a natural inclination to live in society. We're a social creature. So you have to involve yourself to some degree, at least, in politics. The question is, what side do you want to be on? You want to be on the side of Trump and state violence, or on the side of the Democrats and private gangster violence? Those are your two options. Both are going to involve violence. Do you want the just kind or the unjust kind? That was a great clip. Now stop, ring the bell, subscribe. We'll see you next time.